Hello guys, it's Jankos here and today I'll be talking about Zac, the new OP blob of the jungle. I think overall Zac was a bad champion, but since the rework he got some buffs and right now it seems like he's the most OP champion in the jungle. That's because he has the best scaling out of all the junglers. He has also super long range engage and he can gank from pretty much every angle. Like, you are never safe playing against this champion. It's very annoying to deal with. On top of his annoying E, he also has Q that you cannot run from because he can always Q the minion and then auto attack you, and then you know, his R is pretty OP as well. So I think the champion overall has overloaded kit. Like, the champion is just too OP and then the numbers are too high. I think if then they nerf the numbers, then the champion won't be played. I think that kind of champion is very hard to balance. It's very similar to Kassadin. I think in the early game with Zac you should try to mainly farm. I think you should try to get some levels as fast as possible. I don't think you can fight early with any other jungle, and that's what hard about this champion. After like level 4, level 5, then you start to becoming stronger and stronger. I think at level 5 you can start ganking. Your main objective in the early game is to gain levels. After the early game, like let's say for Zac, it's level 7, level 6, you have really OP ganks, and then let's say it's kind of the second part of the early game, right? And then you kind of can gank every lane you want. You are really strong duelist, you have long range engage, just make sure to not be scared. I think in the mid game Zac should try to gank a lot. I think not ganking with Zac is just like, I know it makes the champ really weak, right? So what you want to do in the mid game is that if enemy groups mid, you try to engage. If enemy goes Drake, you want to engage. If enemy is farming on a turret, you want to dive him. Like, you can do whatever you want. Like, it's hard to say what Zac does in mid late game, and that's because he can do everything. Like, there is no thing Zac can't do. It's such an OP champion. It's so bullshit that he's at the state he is, because we won't see him in the LCS simply because he's so broken, right? In the mid game you just basically are like the cannon that wants to engage from like every angle, and just keep that in mind. Yeah, like they cannot stop you. Just beware of champions like Thresh and champions like Syndra, champions like Gragas that can stop your jump in the middle, because if your E doesn't connect to the ground, then you know you don't do damage or you don't CC. So if it doesn't connect, that means you probably f***ed up, but not necessarily. You can still Q them, you can still flash them kinda into each other with your auto, you can still R them and take them to your team. As about the R, how you use it in the mid game, I think sometimes it's better to peel people of your AD carry, so you can just go to your AD carry, ult them out. Sometimes it's better to ult the carries in. If you get a good jumbo, maybe you can like ult and then you can take AD carry with you to your team. And sometimes you kind of just want to press the ult just to CC people for like really short duration, because if you don't cast the ult for longer, if you just press it, it still knocks back your opponent. I think in the late game, Zac is very similar to the mid game, just he's more tanky, so you can kinda go more balls deep, I would say so. Don't be as scared, and your W is probably maxed by then. It should be maxed in the mid game, but you know, let's say in the late game is maxed for sure. First you max E, then you max W, then Q. So when your W is maxed, you have insane damage. As for the core items for this champ, I would say that you should always go Cinder Hulk with the Green Smite. I think wards are very important in the early game, that's why you go Green Smite. I think without it, enemy jungle that's like aggressive, let's say Kha'Zix can kinda make your team behind, so wards can make it more even, because if you see him, you can dodge him. Except for Cinder Hulk, I think you go for items like Spirit Visage, like Abyssal Scepter, like Danduin Omen. You can always go for some Warmog Armor. Like, you basically go full tank. If you are 10-0 in 10 minutes and you really want damage, like, you just will totally, like, your mind will blow up if you don't deal damage, then I think you go for Hunting Guys into Elandris Torment. I think that's one of the damage items on Zac. I think a little bit of Arm Magic Pen, and then on top of that some Elandris Torment passive is good for this champ, so that's mainly it. I think the matchups that are hard for Zac in the jungle is aggressive jungles, like for example Kha'Zix and Lee Sin and Elise, because they can invade you early game. I do think though that if you can survive it, you outscale them really fast. So don't be scared to pick Zac. I think he's super broken. I think there is no special combos or tricks or tips to Zac, just like I said about the ultimate, and on top of that, you know, you can Q the minion and then you can auto the opponent, you can Q the minion and you can flash on your opponent and then you can auto him, so you can always catch him. You don't need to land the skill shot, you can do it differently. Obviously landing the skill shot is better, but if he has flash and you know he will flash, you have to be aware of it. On top of it, I also believe that you shouldn't auto attack as much on Zac. I think you should try to just mainly pick up your blobs and just W, you know, your W is your main damage. I think think for the runes, I think reds you can go attack speed or magic pen, depending what do you want. I think attack speed is better clear, and magic pen is just better overall for the champ. I think for seals you can go flat armor, so 9 armor or 27 armor at level 18. You can also go 216 HP at level 18, but I believe the HP runes are not necessary for this champion because he just has so much HP from the items and from scaling, so I think armor is better. I think for the queens, I usually blues and queens run full CDR. You can either go CDR at level 18, either you can go flat CDR. Personally, I run 10% CDR on queens, so it's 7.5% on queens, so it's 3 queens for CDR, and then I run like 3-4 glyphs for CDR, and that makes me have 10% CDR at level 1, and then I also run 10% CDR at level 18, so at level 18 I'll have 20% CDR on top of 20% from items like Spirit Visage and let's say Abyssal Scepter, and then, you know, obviously I can get some armor, right? Why do I like this champion? You know, I like him only because he's broken. I never played him in my life, but since the rework he's just so OP, and also he is way more fun to play. So I would recommend Zac because he's super fun to play. Like, you can engage from such an every angle. You will have so much love playing this champion. On top of that, he's so broken, it's free low. So don't pass the free low, yeah? Don't pass the free low. It's really easy to win. One last thing I want to say is that if you build Zhonya on this champ, it's fun to press it when he's like in his ult or when he's like in his Q. I'm not sure if they changed it because I don't remember if I built it after the rework, but I believe before you could like ult and then you can press Zhonya, and there's like such a clown fiesta going on from that, so it's fun. Okay, thank you very much guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and you know, I'm doing some coaching on Gamer Sensei, so make sure to check it out. I think I can teach you some real stuff about the jungle. So yeah, thank you very much guys. Like I said, I hope you subscribe to H2K channel. No, I'm not going full sellout. Bye bye guys.